Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Today is what, February 1st already? Hey, Grissom, what's happening on February 1st? Is anything happening today that we should be aware of?
From today, Google's and Yahoo's new requirement are on place. So this is really big day for large senders to be compliant to new requirements. We'll talk about this later.
So today is the day that Google starts to enforce DMARC. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wow, that's kind of a big deal, right? Isn't that like around, like, here, let me just pull this up real quick and let me share this, right? So if I come over here and I click this over here, we'll share our friends over at Dark Reading, right? Because we like our friends at Dark Reading here. Let's see, this one here, right? So if you are not already aware, Google and DMARC are, quote, forcing people like managed service providers and our customers, especially those that do mass emailing, to enforce this thing called DMARC, right? And we're going to get into all that here in a few minutes about DMARC. But before we start, Kristen, why don't you take a minute, introduce who you are, introduce where you're from, kind of talk a little bit about yourself and about EasyDMARC.
Okay. Thank you, Tim, for having me today. I'm Gerasim. I'm co-founder, CEO at EasyDMARC. EasyDMARC is a B2B SaaS to solve email security and deliverability issues in one platform. My background is engineering. I spent last 15 years building infrastructures, distributed infrastructures from China to US, also for security. And during this journey, I discovered for me that the most major impactful attacks starting from this very simple fake or so-called phishing email. And the Verizon Data Breach Investigation report, you can see that 93% worldwide successful attacks started from phishing or were phishing. So this catched my eyes with my co-founder back in 2018. We started to build a platform to solve this simple but big issue.
Wow, so that sounds like a really big thing to tackle, especially way back then, right? So, I mean, obviously today, Google's pushing it, right? Like, it is best practice nowadays to be able to secure your email domain for a bunch of different reasons. We'll get into that here shortly. But I just want to take a second for myself and say, hello, I'm Tim Golden, founder of Compliance Scorecard, where we help MSPs operationalize, standardize, and deal with compliance frameworks for you and your customers with the first and ever governance as a service platform dedicated to helping MSPs, where we help you govern those things around compliance with audit logging, change management, and signature attestations along the way. So we're really excited to have our friends and partners here at EasyDMARC today. And yeah, you know what? Let's just dive right into it, right? So I know you have some slides to share. Why don't I go ahead and start to pull them up a little bit, right? Let's see. I click over here and maybe here, and I do this. And there we are, right? So.
Okay. So very little about EasyDMARC. We protect more than 45 businesses, more than hundreds of thousands of domains all over the world. We process a huge amount of data, but we never go inside, never touch the confidential information, and we always stay outside of your border network. We don't read your emails, but we protect your emails.
So I'm going to pause you right there, right? So you don't read my emails, thank God, right? Because, when we're thinking about email security and you're talking about an email security platform, right? I've actually been able to see this in a couple of other large name backup, whatever platforms where, because they're doing the backups, like you could literally get into people's emails, and that's obviously not good from, confidentiality, blah, 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 blah. So it's good that like your platform helps monitor and maintain and all this, but you don't get into the emails. You can't see their data in regards to the email. So that's great. I really love that. So moving right along. What is DMARC besides yet another acronym that Tim has a hard time saying half the time?
Okay, let's start start a little bit further. In our real life and in our digital life, we used to authenticate everything. It's very common to lock your doors for your house, for your car, and to have even the two-factor authentication for your online accounts. But email, which is the only sovereign independent communication channel in our digital world, is non-authenticated.
Which is odd, right? Because, for years, we've been pushing this whole two-factor, except
It's just
everybody uses email, right? Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, 2FA, just log into your account, and after that point, you can see in your mailbox some email from Gerasim at EasyDMARC.com. How can you be sure that it is me?
Right.
So,
right.
Email was always hard. Email security was always hard and convoluted problem. And talking about email, we always get the impression it should be non-protected, it should be non-secure. But likely we have already this free awesome protocol stack called Email Authentication Protocols, DKIM, SPF, and DMARC. Transfer everything to simple English. SPF shows your sending source, IP address or service or whatever, just your sending source. DKIM, it is your digital signature, which works on public-private key mechanism. Receiver can verify by 100% if the sender is the correct person or not. Does the integrity on place or not? Yeah. These two protocols seems can solve the email authentication problem, but real life is not so ideal. Unfortunately, we can see lots of cases that organizations authenticating, non-authenticating, missing some parts in their email infrastructure. And because of that, it's very possible you will receive some good emails authenticated and some of them non-authenticated. And there is no... Yeah, go ahead.
So let me break this down, right? Because I like to try to, as we do these things, like I'm always like break it down to like the one man or one human MSP that like is just trying to figure this stuff out, right? And so for years and years, we've always talked about SPF, and now this whole DKIM, and now this whole DMARC. And what I think I heard you say was that in essence, email identity has been broken for way too long, right? Like I have to log into my platform with two-factor. I have to do two-factor, and that's great. But proving the identity of who I am and in my email, like that system's been broken for a really long time, right? And I think that's what you're getting at. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so as the internet and the Googles of the world start to recognize that identity portion of email, they're starting to enforce these things, right? They're starting to bring up things like DKIM and DMARC. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Very correct. And imagine after you receive an email, you have a chance to call me and ask if this is right email from me or not.
And I've done that. Like I received, so let me switch back over here, right? So literally just yesterday, right? So, C Corp, got to file our taxes, blah, 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 got to file them in the right state. And, I get this weird email that's like, click here to give us your tax info. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not clicking that. I've never seen that domain. I've never seen who that is. I don't know why it's coming to me. We have a billing address and accounting address. It should go there. And, I reached out to our tax accountant and I reached out to our COO and I was like, what is this? Fortunately, we, picked up the phone, got on a conversation. They explained to me, yes, this is the organization that we use to file your taxes in that state, behalf of your company, blah, blah. So if I just clicked the link and I was unsuspecting, maybe it had like Tim's name on it. Maybe it had something in there that oh, that name looks legit. It's from, so-and-so bank. And I could have then got into this phishing trap. But like you said, having some checks and balances, it can be helpful, but man, that can get pretty burdensome if I have to check every single email and contact every single human on this thing, right? That can get very burdensome, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And now likely we have, since 2012, these protocols are there. DMARC standard was approved 2012. As a security protocol, considered as young, and we need some time, we need some push to accelerate the adoption. And likely from 2018, we see governments adopting law to enforce DMARC standards, including DMARC as a mandatory domain. But definitely the industry leaders like Google and Yahoo, they can have a biggest impact. If we compare with SSL TLS protocol, if we compare with the HTTPS adoption, let's say in this way, after Google announced that making it mandatory, we have seen really rapid adoption of the HTTPS globally, worldwide. And now, same situation, we should expect for email authentication best practices, let's say. In this way.
So let's pause there for a second, right? So, everybody talks about the big enterprise, the big four, the Microsoft, the Googles, the AWSs, the big 4 or 5 in the space, right? And so, yeah, it's got its pros and cons, but as you mentioned, like Google forcing HTTPS and saying we're not going to serve any more websites or crawl anymore or do anything if you're not on HTTPS. I would say, I hate to talk in absolutes, but literally changed the world, right? Now everything is HTTPS, and if it's not, you're going to get warnings everywhere. So that was something that we can thank Google for pushing that forward. Now, fast forward, here we are realizing, email's broken too. So having the big 4 behind it, the Googles, the Yahoos, the Microsofts, saying you're going to have to start doing this because we're not going to deliver email. Like, as much as we hate them or don't like them or get annoyed with them or fed up with them, they are helping, like, changing the industry and actually, as you said, putting best practices out there, right? Because that's really at the end of the day is we want to be able to protect the small businesses, and we want to do that with our MSP partners, right?
Yeah, of course.
So we've talked about the kind of things. Let's dive here a little bit about what we were just getting into about Yahoo, Google, and whatnot.
Okay, but the enforcing protocols, it's really annoying. It's hard, especially with DMARC. If you do something wrong, totally valid emails will be rejected.
Let me. Yeah, I'm going to pull up this question here real quick because, back up a level here, talking about SPF, right? SPF breaks on forwarding. Like, maybe I'm not. I want to let the technical expert answer that.
Okay. Yes. Unfortunately, SPF breaks during the forwarding, and it creates a big problem later to analyze DMARC reports to understand which one is good source, which one is legit or not. And that is why we have protocol called DKIM, and DKIM by standard it can be kept up to 7 forwarding steps. So DKIM it doesn't work as expected sometimes, but several forwarding cases it can handle, and it's really very powerful. It can help to reach the DMARC compliance with DKIM.
So if I think of the question that came up was it breaks on forward, right? But as we're seeing here, if I have DKIM, mouthful for the acronym guy, if I have that configured properly, I think you said, what was it, 7 forwards? It's going to keep that. Yeah, it's going to keep that signature along the way to continue to help protect that identity. So it's not just either or on any of these things when you're dealing with email domains. It's all. right? That would be a good assumption.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right, so let's move on to, I was trying to move to the next slide. I don't know if I can do that. You might need to do that. There you go. All right, so turning compliance, DMARC. Let's talk a little bit about this for a minute.
Yeah. So after today, non-compliant emails should be rejected, which means if even only once you have sent more than 5,000 emails during a day, you can be considered as a large sender, and you need to adopt the new regulations. It's single-click opt-out. You need to maintain good sending list, which means you only have to send emails to your subscribers. You shouldn't send any unwanted email. Your email should be authenticated. And yeah, this is hard.
So let me ask you, right? So the 5,000 a day, bulk senders, blah, blah, blah. Like, so yes, we do marketing campaigns, right? We talk to our partners, both, our current partners and new partners and all that fun stuff, right? So I'm under that, right? Because, maybe 1,000, 15, 2,000, whatever, but I'm under that 5,000 mark. Do I still care? And if I do, why should I care beyond it's good cyber hygiene?
Look, this is only the first step. If you go and check the Google's or Yahoo's documentation, you will see very funny stuff. They require DMARC, but they are not talking about enforcement, which means that you can have DMARC only as a monitoring. Let me describe some stuff about DMARC. It's and control mechanism, let's say in this way, and monitoring mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
You can start the whole authentication process from monitoring. You can just add the simple TXT line into your DNS. You can start to receive DMARC aggregate reports, which are machine readable format files. You can discover your sending sources. You can configure them. You can authorize them to send emails. And only after you see your email sending infrastructure, the whole infrastructure is configured correctly, you can move to the best security stage of the protocol. So now, if we look carefully, these requirements only asking you to put the lock on your door. They are not asking to close the door, but just to have a lock, which doesn't make sense, but it is hard. It requires time, diligence. If you do something wrong, totally valid emails will be rejected. So I understand the approach. This is just step by step moving forward, the hard, risky stuff.
Yeah, and so Ruben makes a good point here, and right back to what you were talking about, right? Without proper reporting, like not knowing where stuff is, not knowing who's doing what and where and how, right? And actually, it's kind of interesting. So I'm going to call myself out here for a minute, right? Because, but I was between servers, I was moving stuff around, I was rebranding, I was doing all this stuff like a year or so ago, and like I didn't have proper SPF, I didn't have the things configured appropriately. And I moved from one hosted server and IP address to another hosted server IP address, got everything up, the website was running, things were great, but I couldn't send or receive email, right? Nothing was happening. Well, I never went back in and updated my DNS records for the new IP address. Had I had something like EasyDMARC monitoring or any of those tools monitoring, I probably would have caught that a lot sooner and not wasted a day, day and a half trying to figure out why aren't emails sending. And again, this was several years ago. It was my personal timgolden.com domain, blah, blah, blah. Obviously we have the right people and the right partners like EasyDMARC in place to make sure we're doing the right things. But something as simple as like, hey, I'm moving the website to a new server and that website sends email, but you didn't update the DNS for the records.
Yeah. That's why you need some easy solution to solve all these problems without expert knowledge and without risks. This is very good. it was a really good start for us, from engineers to provide a solution which is easy to use, doesn't require expert knowledge, and we can take care of these risks. Since then, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about like how do we do this, right? Because I've been watching Reddit and Facebook and LinkedIn and all the socials blowing up with, hey, check my record. Hey, how do I do this? Is my record right? And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm not the expert. Go talk to the experts. Like, I don't have to worry about it because EasyDMARC's made it easy for me, right? And so, talk a little bit about, maybe the next slide around, it's hard or risky or whatever.
Yeah, DMARC implementation is hard, it is risky, there are different statistics that how many organizations failed when they tried to do it themselves. The forwarding issue, data classification issue, and you need something to make everything easy, fast, to be able to move forward. So
I find and let's talk a little bit, go back one real quick. Oh, that's the slide I'm looking for, right? So setting the monitoring stage to P equals none, right? Like talk a little bit about that in a technical level so our viewers understand what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, it's just simple DNS record, TXT record, which will announce that you are monitoring your sending sources, you have appropriate DMARC protocol on place, and you can publish some address which will receive DMARC aggregate reports from email service providers, and you'll be able to analyze. You can see the simple dashboard screenshot from our system, which will classify your sending sources for good ones, for unknown ones, but legit, non-legit. You can see the forwarding emails, which is really very hard to filter out from the good volume of emails to be able to authenticate other emails or authorize other sources to send emails. This process can take time. So to do it very easy, we now provide all these automated solutions. All you need just to register in a platform. After the platform will suggest your next step, what you need to do. Everything will be available to monitor and control via dashboard, via our managed solutions. Everything will be possible to get some alerts to stay ahead of important events. And there are tons of free tools there to check if you need some source, some email, or some even IP address to monitor your sending reputation or sending source reputation. Everything is there.
Gotcha. So there's some questions popping up over here in comments, and I just want to kind of pull a couple of them up here real quick, right? So yes, this will be recorded. It'll be live here. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on the social. So you can always come back and hopefully rewatch it, share it with your friends, whatever. This is a really interesting one, right? Because how do you deal with multiple different platforms, whether you're sending it from the copier in the building, or you're sending from your website like we were, or you're sending from multiple different sources, right? I had to remember all the places when I was trying to move timgolden.com over, like, where am I sending email from? Because it wasn't just that one IP address. I was doing other stuff, and I had to, this is really hard, and I'm gonna get it wrong.
So this is a problem not only for a single domain, but for our partners also, for managed service providers also. Imagine they have tons of customers out there. The customers have several domains or hundreds of domains, and they are sending from hundreds of sources for each domain. The platform analyze each source, represent it in a very easy, transparent way, let's say in this way. And we have more than 2,000 tested configurations from all well-known email service providers.
Wow.
After we detect the right source, we are delivering exact notification and guidance how to configure that source to be able to move forward. So our multi-tenant approach, this data classification helps to deliver the notification alert or configuration instruction to the appropriate person. It can be someone at MSP side. There are some MSPs who are working with customers and want to give them view access or admin access. And they also can receive these visualizations or instructions to be able to configure authorized sources and be compliant. Talking about the compliance team, I would like to know your view about this email authentication standards, not only from the compliance standpoint.
Yeah, so obviously bring it right back home to me. Gee, thanks, right? So, gosh, when I think of just baseline compliance related kind of stuff when it relates to email, the first thing my brain goes to is the CAN-SPAM Act, right? So, if those are not familiar with the CAN-SPAM Act, no, it's not something you eat for breakfast on a Sunday with pineapple. It's about like sending unsolicited emails and all this other like legal regulatory baloney. I don't want to get into gory details. You can Google it better than I can explain it. So CAN-SPAM comes to mind right out of the gate, right? And that's been around, gosh, maybe 10 years or better as far as I can, think back. But when we look at, just, we'll pick on the United States, right? I know you're overseas, but we'll pick on the United States for a minute, right? There are lots of laws, lots of regulations, lots of privacy things, coming out all over the place, right? Everybody talks CMMC and whatever, right? But when it boils down to it, right, it goes right back to where we were talking about in the beginning, and that is identity, right? Is this the right person? Is this the right email? Is this real, right? Because, phishing attempts and all of that stuff, right? We can get into very specific, so SEC, great one there too as well, right? NIST, more and more and more. Love that. Thank you for that. There's a lot of these frameworks that actually have something in them that discusses being able to not only protect the identity of what you're doing, but the delivery of the things that you're doing, right? I'll take, for example, I think somebody brought up NIST, right? So let me dig deep into the back of my brain. Is it PR? I think it's the protective technology category in NIST CSF, right? Where it talks about being able to understand, the controls and the information and the communication flow of stuff, right? And, grabbing at straws, I'm pretty sure it's PR3 maybe in the NIST CSF. You can probably Google it because my brain is a little toast today. But frameworks do have some kind of requirement around identity, around privacy, do I dare say around phishing and training, right? We hear this all the time, right? Train your users on phishing to spot that stuff. And so, we could get into a little bit more weeds in the details of how that actually affects an MSP and how it affects your end customer. I'm thinking a little bit, and I don't want to keep rambling here, right? So we talked about CAN-SPAM. We talked about, here you go, overseas, GLBA, right? So we talked about those privacy frameworks that are out there. And some of them have that requirement to prove who you are, prove where it's coming from. DMARC, DKIM, and SPFS can help. SPF. Gosh, my mouth isn't working today. Side note, I woke up with 100-degree fever this morning, so I'm a little loopy, but thank you for your patience with me. So compliance can really start to dive into this. I don't want to focus a lot on the big, scary compliant word, even though that's who and what we are. Let's talk about insurance for a minute, right? Everybody knows cyber insurance, cyber liability, it's a thing. Well, they talk about security awareness training and phishing as part of cyber liability insurance. And so having these, checks and balances, these technologies and these protocols in place can also help you or help your end MSP customer with cyber liability insurance. I suspect not in the far future, there will be a time, if they're not already doing it, where an insurance underwriter or somebody on their team will maybe go to easydmarc.com and plop your email address, plop your email domain in there and just see what comes back. Are you compliant or not? Right? I think as the cyber industry matures, they're going to be able to do those things at a more rapid pace and then adjust your premium or your customer's premium based on what you're doing and not doing. My gosh, that was a long-winded way around of compliance. As I always say, are the guardrails. As hopefully I don't butcher your name, Cree. Hopefully I said that right. Points out, NIST, SEC points out there's a bunch of things out there that are already asking, are you protecting the identity? Are you putting in protective technologies to kind of safeguard this stuff? And email is one of the easiest ways to spoof and one of the easiest things to trick users. So compliance aside, it's pretty easy to spoof stuff if you don't have this, I'm gonna bring up a term. It might sound a little odd, but for those in the audience, give me a little either thumbs up or a yes or a no. Have you or any of your customers received an email to themselves from themselves? Just give people a couple of seconds, right? I've received dozens of emails over my lifetime to Tim Golden from Tim Golden, right? Little thumbs up over there in the comments. Yep, thank you. Yep, thank you. Awesome, thank you. And so, and this might be the wrong word, but years ago, these things used to be called a Joe job, where they would spoof your name and your email on some script, grab a list of email addresses, set the reply to and from address to whatever they wanted, or a database and pull the reply to and from to, right? Yeah. So yeah, where they've all been from external, blah, 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 right? And so we've seen that happen time and time again, right? And the last thing that you need is one of your MSP's customers put in a ticket calling or everybody at that company saying, I just got an email from Joe to Joe with Joe's stuff, but it wasn't really Joe. And then it happens by 100 people in that company. Now you have 100 tickets and so on and so forth. So in that regard, Gerasim, does setting these things up start to help with that?
Yeah. Yes, Tim. Also, I've seen comments here. Our audience responding that never received or they are protected from them. But I want to emphasize, especially last year, two important events happened. The first one we have seen. Sorry?
I was trying to find the comment you were referencing.
Yeah, I already seen. Okay, we'll try to provide a generic answer to that. Last year was really game-changing, let's say, and for businesses and cyber criminals. For two main reasons. We have seen a huge increase in business email compromise attacks, and this quantity very often brings, unfortunately, bad quality. And we have constantly seen the compromised systems, marked systems, and it is not only about the businesses, not only about finance or data loss or brand reputation, but this
a good one.
Can already have the direct impact on human being. The colonial pipeline attack, several closed hospitals in Europe, in US. These are the proof that cybersecurity is not only about money or data. We should treat a little bit different now. The second important event during the last year, we have seen this large language models, generative AI new trend. Yeah, it's good, but not every good solution can be used for humanity or for good. Cyber criminals also taking benefits from this. And at the end of the year, we have started to see really good tuned targeted phishing attacks. Before, it
Mhm.
was much more easy to identify and to not respond or reject these emails. But now
Right.
more and more see very nice, very personalized, correct emails.
Mhm.
And they're
Yeah.
responding, they are talking to you. It becomes really much more harder to reject or to protect businesses, people from these emails.
Mhm. Yeah, you bring up a really good point, right? So, large language models, generative AI, we talk a lot about that on our Friday live stream on Team Tim. Um, they're getting smart, these spammers, right? And it's a game of numbers. It always has been. Send out 10 million emails and get 1% of them like to actually click and provide credentials, and they wash, rinse, repeat. And then when you look at these email messages, years ago, like we would say, like, oh, it's misspelled, or it's got a weird domain or whatever. Maybe it's not the right logo. But with things like generative AI, kind of powering these, hackers or bad actors behind the scenes, now they don't even have to worry about misspellings or improperly worded whatever. They can literally send emails. Hey, Tim, I noticed that you were on a live LinkedIn thing, because they scraped LinkedIn, grabbed my email address, and then sent me a personalized message because of how those things can operate. Like, it can get pretty scary, right? And by not having properly authenticated and properly set up DNS records for email, you and your customers are going to end up having to combat this. And you're going to probably end up with more tickets than you imagine, because is this real? Is this fake? Is this real? Or you're going to wind up with, I never got the email. I never got the email. Customer called me and said they sent me an email and I never got it. Right. So I have seen that personally in my MSP, even when we did have things set up correctly or slightly correctly. There was a question over here about ARP, right? I don't know what ARP is. AARP, that's for us old guys.
Uh, ARC maybe? I don't know.
All right.
If you are
Maybe
advocating solution protocol, there is nothing to do with this ARP here.
maybe that was around when we were talking about like P equals none, P equals something, right?
I don't
Isn't there different things that you can put in the
know.
record for, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. Um,
The
so,
new protocol is coming, is not ARP, but to solve the forwarding issue, and dive in more technical details even later. But now I want to talk about how to get benefits from this. We are
well,
talking about
that's where
boring
I was
stuff,
next.
compliance,
Yeah,
scary,
let's bump over to the next slide.
yeah, scary things, which are also costly to implement, and especially MSPs need to go to their customers. Hey, you need to invest some money. You need to spend some time to implement these compliance protocols, frameworks, whatever, to be protected. Yes,
Gotcha.
you have to. It is insurance. But I want to look at this from a different angle. Let's take these email authentication protocols. After you deploy DMARC, SPF, DKIM, the probability of your emails to end up in the inbox instead of spam box will be increased. And
Wait a
the
minute.
businesses,
You just said if I actually do this, I may actually have more likelihood of bypassing and getting into the inbox when and where appropriate. Granted, there's other filters and other plays and other things, right? But we have a more highly likelihood of getting delivered, correct?
yes, because you are sending correct emails, authenticated emails. Uh, why it should be rejected or why it should be go to spam box. Of course, you need to keep the very strict rules. You need to only send the wanted emails. You need to keep your email list up to date. There are a bunch of stuff there, the unsubscribe option with one click, etc. But the case is that this is really very unique situation when the compliance and the revenue generation going hand by hand.
Yeah,
Not only
exactly.
spending money to be compliant, which is usually, unfortunately, lots of places I have seen, it's just one tick in their checklist to be compliant. No, it's to be safe and secure. But this time, in this case, it's also about generating revenue. And for
Exactly.
MSPs and for customers. Imagine
Well,
your invoice is not getting to your end customers.
yeah.
Imagine your email marketing doesn't work. Imagine your customer success struggling to notify to your customer base about some important event. So this doesn't work. And
But if we take that even a step further at the MSP, and you have a support at mydomain.com and your domain.com isn't right or whatever, and people are sending support tickets and you're never getting them,
yes,
right? Now you have mad customers that have been barking at you for however long. So I sent a ticket like you told me. I sent a ticket like you told me. And all that work that you tried to do to teach them to send a ticket is now gone. You have to start that process all over again because they don't trust it. Right. I want to bring this point that I made up a little earlier, despite my really horrible spelling, and that is, why do I need to monitor it over time? Isn't it just a set it and forget it? Because if I'm thinking about the value to my customers, like if I'm trying to sell this as a service to our clients,
Tim,
like DNS never changes. Like, really? Well, it's always DNS.
Tim, even Grave sometimes needs maintenance. So no. To reach this best security state, which is DMARC reject policy, is hard, but to stay there even harder. Can be tons of issues, and the human time is really very expensive, and that's worth to spend on this, to monitor, to go there, to check your systems every day, every hour, if something is broken, if something is changing. The digital life, especially the digital environment, evolving so fast that you need always be ahead of important events. So yes, you need, the first stage is to reach the best security state, and the next important step, you need to continue to monitor and maintenance your sending infrastructure health.
So I can't just buy a car, put gas in it once, never change the oil, and expect it to run forever. Right? Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about why the MSP customers like need DMARC, right? You're kind of heading down that path, right? Head on over to the next slide, or maybe I can do that. There we go.
There is a good statement for small to mid-sized businesses. DMARC is peace of mind. So it means no one can impersonate your domain, your brand, your emails will end up in the inbox, will generate revenue for you, and you can be considered as a trusted sender.
Trusted sender. Perfect. I know we monitor that pretty darn closely in our environment because a lot of things that we do, rely on email.
Yeah. Usually customers coming with some problems, or MSP goes to the to customer with some problem. Hey, I need to solve this problem for you. It costs some amount of money. Always technical problems. It is investment in your digitalization or your infrastructure, etc. You always have some expense. And I have heard from lots of companies, let's keep it cheap, let's keep it as it is, etc. And I've heard also opinion from MSP that I don't want to go to my customer and tell that because of this issue, I need to spend extra resources, software, or human hours to solve this issue and request some money. But imagine you can go to your customer and tell that you are investing money to get back this money or several times more. So this is not only about MSPs. DMARC is not only revenue new channel for MSPs, but for end customers also. By increasing their email deliverability, you can see it can have has a direct impact on revenue. HubSpot, Salesforce, they are reporting that $1 investment in email marketing can bring to 34, 42 times back your money. So go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, let me dig into that a little bit. So like, oh my gosh, I'm an MSP. I'm gonna go like try to talk to my customer. You need to do this really big acronym mouthful of stuff. First of all, it's gonna drown the client out. We know that, right? But if you approach it as an MSP with, hey, we know you're a car dealership. We know that you send out marketing emails to those on your list, correct? Well, yeah, we do that every week, like, the oil change of the week or whatever. Doesn't matter if it's a car dealership or whatever, right? As an MSP working for your customer, you're going to kind of have a sense of what they're doing around email stuff, albeit, MailChimp or whatever. You're going to kind of have some sense of that. So rather than approaching them with a mouthful of acronyms that they don't care, you could approach them with like, hey, we notice you use such and such CRM, and we noticed that that wasn't properly configured. So it's a high probability that all of your emails are not getting delivered, or they're getting bounced, or they're going directly to junk. Now, we can't 100% solve for that, but we can do some things like these big fancy words. We can put some protections in place to help you get better delivery rates for your end customer, Mr. Car Dealership, right? So now you're flipping the conversation from a mouthful of acronyms or compliance or whatever into a business conversation. Hey, you're a marketing company and you send out mass emails. Well, literally today, February 1st, you don't have this stuff set up. You're probably not going to get it delivered, and your reputation's going to tank. And you're going to end up losing all those customers for poorly configured emails. Does that make sense? Am I kind of relating this, appropriately? I just want to make sure I'm not, talking through my notes, letting the fever get to my head.
You're doing great, Tim. Come on. And the most important, there's another nice message. Just give me a week. I'll show the results. It's really very important that you can show the impact, what you have done, and you can constantly deliver the right reports, notifications to your end customers, so they constantly can feel that you are next to them. They can clearly see the value for what they are paying. And lots of MSPs daily reporting us that it really increased the customer stickiness, customer happiness for them, because they just show the value. Especially in IT field, when everything works, no one pay attention. Everyone, no one notices you until something is broken, and they come to you with their compliances. That they argue with you, etc. Why something is not working, but when everything works, no one pays attention. It's another issue for MSPs to show their end customer that they are really working. They really do a good job.
Well, because most small business owners, it's just like voodoo magic behind the scenes. We don't know, like push some buttons and the world is perfect. And the reality is like there's work that's involved, right? And so I love the fact that you brought up like thankless job, right? Like nobody ever came to me when I was at my MSP and be like, hey, my computer turned on today. Thanks. Or, hey, you know what? The mouse you got me 5 months ago still works great. Nobody's ever said that. But the minute it stops working, the minute emails are not getting delivered, the minute they're not getting responses from their marketing messages or their marketing campaigns or any of that kind of stuff, you're going to be the first person they call. Email's not going out. I don't know what's happening. We lost thousands of customers. What are you doing about it? I tried to talk to you about DKIM, SPF, XYZ, mouthful of acronyms. Well, that's because you talk to them in mouthful of acronyms. But if you talk to them about the business side, hey, let us help you. I can't guarantee that it'll work, but I think as you brought up over here in this comment, we'll be able to monitor this over time, i.e., we'll be able to charge a fee monthly, MRR, yay, fun stuff, over time to make sure that over time, not only are you staying compliant, not only are you following a framework or a privacy law or a regulation, but your reputation is staying intact. Your emails have a better possibility of delivery, right? So, let's kind of bring this full circle. We've got about 5 to 7 to 9 minutes left. What I always like to do is spend the last 5 to 10 minutes with a couple of key takeaways, right? And so, Gerasim, I don't know if you have a slide that kind of talks a little bit about what are a couple of easy steps that we might consider as an MSP.
As an MSP, you have to choose really MSP-friendly vendor, because with MSPs, the most important, this is not just a software, it is not just a platform. You need to be a good partner. MSP should see that you are always next to them. There is always someone who will answer to your phone call, your emails, even your chat on the website. So it can provide you necessary documents, trainings, whatever, to decrease the human hours on your side, that not only increase the revenue, but also increase the profit. These are really very important for MSPs. Use MSP-friendly vendor, multi-tier vendor, show the value to your end customer, put your logo on top of the reports, show the value, how much increase the deliverability, how much decrease the bounce rate, spam rate, which can kill your business even. It's not only getting the profit, but it also can kill your business. To show some grade of insurance that your business is protected, these are the most important steps for MSPs to be able to work and to show that work is done.
That's great stuff. And so, you made a couple of really good points there, right? And so, why is Compliance Scorecard and EasyDMARC having a conversation? Why are we out here together in front of, dozens of MSPs and, across the interweb? Here at Compliance Scorecard, our good friend Michelle over at Lion Guard said it best. Go over to Michelle's Lion Guard post. She said it best with 10xing the ecosystem. And I'm going to probably butcher the way she said it, but it kind of aligns with our thinking. Here at Compliance Scorecard, partnering with, like-minded vendors, partnering with adjacent organizations, heck, even partnering with competitors, right? Whatever. Our goal is to build better together, right? And so, as we continue to add more features, add more functions, do more stuff, and probably maybe pull data or push data back and forth from EasyDMARC, right? Being able to help you with those compliance things, those regulatory things, because using these strategic partnerships, we can be better together and better for your end customer together. So as you said here a second ago, doing this dedicated account manager, technical training, what I hear in all of that is EasyDMARC is there for you, just like Compliance Scorecard is there for our customers. We want to be able to work together with like-minded organizations like EasyDMARC to make a better together ecosystem for MSPs and your small businesses. So 5 minutes left. One key takeaway. I'm going to let you have the full stage here and talk about one key takeaway.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, it's was being a big question, how much security is enough. So partnering with like-minded vendors is very important to deliver appropriate, tested, verified solutions to our customer base also, and get benefits. simplified approach to everyone. And during the several years, we have seen that especially MSPs need simplified solution to save time and provide value to their customers. Security is important, compliance is important, but also the revenue drives business. So by changing the way how things are working here, generating revenue from the security and compliance solutions has better impact on the global adoption. So every day we see lots of MSPs registering an account, they're starting a business with us, they're using EasyDMARC as an even lead generation channel, assessing the potential customer domain health status, going to them with some questions, offers, suggestions, or just maintaining their customers' business health. So just turning things to the revenue generation, profit generation channel will help to adopt the security protocols and move forward to stay safe and secure.
Love that. And so, as far as our key takeaway here, compliance scorecard, right? Oops, I suppose I need me up front and center because you just talked. Still getting the hang of it. I'm kidding. So, us a compliance scorecard. I think I mentioned this a little earlier, right? Building the right partnerships, working together with not only other vendors, but working together with you as the MSP, helping you to understand some of the complexities around this big bad word compliance, right? And providing opportunities for you to not just check a box, but to actually help protect and secure your end customer and build that defensibility in your end customer. One way you can do that is by starting to protect their email domain by turning things like SPF, DKIM, and DMARC on and partnering with great organizations to be able to do that. And the end of the day, it's all about building that defensibility. And there's some easy ways to do that, hence EasyDMARC, right? And so as we wrap up, in the last couple of seconds, Gerasim, do you have any last parting words before I start us where we're going from here?
No, Tim, thank you. Thank you, compliance scorecard team, for putting this together and being just next to us. And
so,
yes, all users, all our audience to just go sign up for trial account, test the solutions. If you like, we can help you to move forward.
Yes, they have a trial account, EasyDMARC.com, or is it .us, or is it .com?
Always to us.
All of the things. It's all of the things. And so we're not done here, though, right? We're going to put out another one in a couple of weeks. We're going to continue on this compliance and DMARC journey. Remember, today is February 1st. Remember, Google and Yahoo are rolling out this thing because of DMARC, because of identity, because they want to help build a safer internet, right? Regardless of all the other stuff that they may or may not be doing. And so I'm Tim Golden, founder of Compliance Scorecard, here with Gerasim, CEO of EasyDMARC. Be sure to do the like, subscribe, the things, whatever, and be sure to follow our page because we'll be doing a couple more of these over the next several weeks. And lastly, I'll leave you with big news coming up in 2 weeks with Compliance Scorecard. Just going to leave the pressure, just going to leave the little nugget. If you want to know what's going on, come check out our newsletter, do the like, subscribe, because really cool things are starting to happen over here. So I'm Tim Golden, founder of Compliance Scorecard, and I thank you for your time. Yeah.